everyone. And I want to thank the Avaya folks for inviting me to talk. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go get this bar stool. Not because I'm used to sitting on a bar stool, but I'm actually, in all honesty, getting ready for knee replacement surgery. And so, a long time up on a stage, I'm not going to stand the whole time. So we're running ahead of schedule, and that's a good thing, because I was sharing a story with the Avaya folks last night. I'll share it with you real quick. I usually run long in my presentations. I usually go long. So instead of 40 minutes, I now have an hour and 40 minutes. I'm not going to do that. But I have to tell you, my very first speaking engagement as an analyst, which was a long time ago, and I was a rookie, right? I was naive. I didn't really, my only speaking experience had been as a senior in high school. I gave a 3-minute speech on the Vietnam War. And so I was slated to talk for an hour on data warehousing back in the 90s. And I was on it the 11 or 11:30 time slot, about the same time now. And I was really, really nervous. It's my first presentation. I said, my goodness, I can't talk for a full hour. I can talk for 3 minutes, but I can't talk for an hour. And so what I did is I went up to my hotel room and I was practicing my speech in the morning, so 8 o'clock in the morning. I was on at 11. And I said, this isn't going to work. I need a beer. So I go into the mini bar and I pull out a Miller and shut it down. So I'm still practicing the speech. I still have the jitters. I said, my goodness, that didn't work. I need another beer. So back in the mini bar, another Miller. Started to feel okay. I said, well, one more beer will actually make me feel really good. One more. I actually lost count of how many I drank. So 11 o'clock, I was on stage. It was really just flowing through the presentation, the materials, and having a lot of fun with the audience, things like that. And I got to the 55-minute mark. So I had 5 minutes left, and I was only halfway through my presentation. I passed out. I literally passed out. I conked out. So beer, the nerves. But anyway, ever since then, I've never run short on a presentation. I've always run long. And I haven't had any beer since then either. So. Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk about a lot of the things that the Avaya folks have talked with you about in the last couple of days, and give you, an analyst perspective. And analysts we're not geniuses, we're not, brainiacs. We are just given the opportunity to talk with lots of different people. Tech vendors, channel partners, customers, investors, and we're able to connect the dots. And that's the sort of perspective that I'm going to try to bring you around the network and telecom channel as it is today. By the way, I'm not a technology domain analyst. There's a couple of my colleagues here from Forrester that are, right? Andre Kleidness specializes in network technology, and Art Scholler specializes in contact center and unified communications. I cover the channels. I cover you guys, and I engage with folks like you every day of my life. That includes Saturdays and Sundays. Unfortunately, I'm still working on Saturdays and Sundays, much to my wife's chagrin, but yes, I do. So, talking with folks, your peers, pretty much every day. So, I thought in the interest of me perhaps going over my 40-minute time limit, which is no longer a time limit anymore, but I thought I'd put the really important stuff up front in case I did run out of time. And the most important thing I think that you have to take away is that we are in the age of the customer, right? It's a new type of selling motion, and I don't want to use just the word selling motion. It's a new type of marketing motion. It's a new type of an overused word, engagement motion, but I'll use it because customers are different today. I'll give you one example. The small to medium business market. So, been a lot of talk about the mid-market. I'll talk about that in a few seconds. But the very small business market, less than 20 employees. one of the things that you could always say about company-sized market segments is that large companies were the innovators and early adopters. They have the capital to actually, put at some risk for new innovation. And as you kind of went down the food chain to smaller and smaller companies, they got to be more laggard, right? So very small businesses were very laggard in terms of keeping their technologies up to date or modernized. One of the things that's changed is now it looks like a U. So enterprises are up here as early adopters, and so are very small businesses. Very, very interesting. And the laggards are the ones in the middle, right? Those medium-sized businesses and mid-market guys. I'll tell you why in a second. But the customer profile is changing, and I want to give you some data to show that. By the way, Forrester Research is the largest surveyor of businesses in the world. Right? We survey over 35,000 enterprises and SMBs every year. That number is growing. So we have a treasure trove of data. I'm going to share some of that with you. One of the things that we recognized a few years ago that we were entering the age of the customer, we wanted to actually be able to profile what the difference in that type of customer was. Right? So we know that customers are more outreaching in terms of educating themselves before they make their decisions or their purchases. We know that they have higher expectations of solutions and more demanding of really, really good customer service today. And all those things. I wanted to share something else with you. So, two types of decision makers here that I profiled, the IT decision maker and the business decision maker. And this is from our survey of over 35,000 customers. And we asked IT decision makers and business decision makers, what types of solutions are you involved in the decision making of? Right? So, tee up a softball right here. Business and management consulting. Any guesses who leads the charge in engaging consulting for business and management services? Business decision maker or the IT decision maker? Hello? Business decision maker, okay. All right, I told you it was a softball. How about hardware infrastructure? IT, another softball. Right? But not by much, look at that. Only by a percentage point. How about digital interactive agencies, marketing agencies? No. Business decision maker, yes, they lead there, but pretty close. How about telecommunications? Now we're going to get a little tougher. Telecommunications, technology solutions. Who leads? Hello? Who would be wrong on that? So, see how I mean the customer is changing? Right? Software, we asked about software. Who leads the charge there? Business decision makers, but only by a point. And then I asked for a couple of specific types of software. So packaged application software comes in even, right? And mobile software is being led by the decision maker in most cases. So if you are not prepared to have a conversation with and sell to the business decision maker, you should be a little concerned. The other takeaway from this is that, and by the way, all this shift to the business decision maker doesn't mean the IT decision maker doesn't count anymore. They do. But you can see that in almost all cases, it's parity. You have to be able to speak to both audiences. And I've actually seen tech vendors and channel partners lose deals, and lose very big deals because they have the IT organization won over, and someone from the line of business comes in and says, well, hold on. They don't know jack about how it affects employee productivity. I'm in charge of HR, and that's what we need. And there's this other solution provider that I've been talking to that knows and can articulate the value, the uptick in terms of what employee productivity will get. We're going to consider them, and they'll put a whole stop to the process. So another way to segment the market is by company size. And I'm going to define terms here for you because, everybody uses terminology a little bit different. So small business, small to medium-sized business, SMB, large enterprise, and then very small business, BSB. So Forrester, we count anything less than 20 employees as very small businesses, right? And we count anything of more than 5,000 employees as large enterprises, right? Everything in the middle gets, kind of meshed together. It's interesting. Sometimes I'll get an inquiry call from a client, a telecommunications company, and they'll say, Tim, we're really interested in learning about the SMB market. I used to think, oh, okay, that's 20 to 999 employees. It's that big market in the middle. And then, of course, I get on the phone and I said, no, we're really interested in 5 employees or less. I said, well, okay. So everybody has a little bit different perspective. But a couple things that I wanted to say is that, remember I said that the market adoption from a company size perspective looks like a U. So up here, the endpoints, the early adopters are large enterprises and very small businesses, and then the laggards are the small to medium-sized businesses and mid-market. Now, one of the reasons very small businesses have become such aggressive adopters is because a lot of them are new, right? Most very small businesses don't stay very small businesses for very long. They might start off with 2 or 3 employees. They're not going to stay at 2 or 3 employees for a long time, right? Most very small businesses, right? They are growing, and so they, in anticipation of their growth, of growing from a 3-employee company to a 30-employee company to a 300-employee company, they are adopting virtual technology, right? They are on a par with large enterprises in adopting cloud technology because it doesn't tether them. It doesn't tether them. And they know that. They know they need that not tethered capability in order to grow. Moreover, when we look at very small businesses, there's a great number of them, about 40% of them, that have employees, even if there are 5 employees, 4 or 5 employees, that are in different locations. Right? Someone is in New York, and other employees are based in Los Angeles. Maybe some are based in Buenos Aires. So, but it's, you get past the large enterprise market. I counsel a lot of tech vendors about doing that, how to grow beyond the enterprise market. Because the enterprise market, large enterprise market, is very small in terms of number of customers. And it doesn't take many years for it to get tapped out. And in order to continue to grow, you have to go after the SMB market or the mid-market, which is bigger by an order of magnitude. Okay, so I'm going to talk about, before I do that, I wanted to, so I can give away prizes too. I'm going to give away this crisp $20 bill. So a trivia question. Take this home for your next cocktail party. In the United States, sorry for all those non-U.S. folks here in the audience, but in the United States, what is of America's largest 25 cities, what's the city that has the greatest number of businesses less than 500 employees per capita? Come on, $20. Don't feel bad about taking $20 from poor analysts. I'm going to expense this to Avaya. Houston? Let's go and guess. No? Chicago?
San Jose.
San Jose? No. San Francisco? I heard that. No. New York? No. New York's number 2. You win $1.
Chicago.
Atlanta? No. Chicago? No. Dallas? Indianapolis? No. Marshalltown, Iowa, right? No, that's not it. You know what? I never lose my $20. I never lose my $20. It's Miami. Miami? All right, you come up afterwards. You come up afterwards and get the 20. I said Miami. So, by the way, New York is second. And Denver's third. It goes Miami, New York, Denver. And the reason, you know, when you think about it, first of all, there's two characteristics about Miami. One is there's no large enterprises there, right? There just aren't any. It's not a city of corporate headquarters, right? Or just, you know, big businesses. The other is the influence of the immigrant population. So they have a lot of immigrants. They start up a lot of small businesses. Okay. So let's go back to those business decision makers, and I want to profile you what they're thinking about in terms of technology. Right. So the ones in gray, you know, supporting business requirements. Duh. Yeah, that better be a requirement. And growth. Duh. Better be able to speak specifically how their investment technology is going to translate to their top line. And support product innovation. Another oh duh. Yes, that's probably right there. But I thought the other three top IT priorities by business decision makers were interesting. Business intelligence, BI, mobile for employees, not just for employees, but extending mobile capabilities out to their customers and their partners as well. And to consolidate their commerce systems for a better, more consistent customer experience. I think, you know, the thing that I take away from this is that if you are, and by the way, my career, I've bounced around, you know, from analyst world to tech vendor world to actually I started out my career as a PL1 computer programmer. Hey, that aged me. I have the white beard to prove it. So I've had a number of different roles, but one of the things that I've learned over the course of my career is if you're going to be selling to a business decision maker, you better have a good BI story that you're selling. Because that's what those people are interested in. That's what they as users of technology actually use. No, they're not the call center agents, right? They are the management layer that makes the decision. They want to see the business intelligence and analytics about what they're doing. So think about that in terms of your portfolio, what you're offering to your customers. Okay. So we all know that tech is moving away from this I don't want to own stuff mentality, right? I talked about the very small businesses being really big adopters of cloud, just like large enterprises. And, you know, that's the course of the world. I thought I'd share with you some data, you know, that actually shows this. So here's the bad news, right? Because this is data about customers who have already adopted cloud software, right? I put them in order of by category, right? So Salesforce automation is out there to the right as, you know, number one. And if you can see, you know, you total up the two together. So the dark blue is those who have implemented some sort of cloud software solution. The light blue are those that have complemented an on-premise solution with some type of cloud solution. And I think it's interesting that those numbers of complementing are as big as those that have totally replaced wholesale a particular solution category with cloud software. So, you know, the range when you total the two up is between 30 and 40%. The bad news is if you're not in the cloud market today, either as tech vendor or solution provider, you've lost out on 30 or 40% of the market, right? I wanted to do a call out because I think there's a couple of categories that are relevant to the Avaya folks and to you as Avaya's partners that are actually pretty high on scale here. Collaboration software, think about unified communications, right? And service and support, both pretty high on the scale of cloud adoption currently. Like I said, bad news, if you're not already there, you've lost out on that part of the market. What's the good news? Boom! It's doubling in 2 years. The market's doubling in 2 years. The cloud software market is doubling in the next 2 years. So we also ask customers, what are you planning to do in the next 2 years? And you can see the numbers in the gray part of the bars now. You can see now market penetration is in the 70 to 80% level 2 years out. So there's tremendous opportunities ahead of you. It took about 5 years for that 30 to 40% penetration to get here, right? And if you're counting Salesforce.com, it took a lot longer than 5 years. They've been around since the early 2000s. Oh, I can't see Salesforce.com anymore. Salesforce, sorry. But it's about 5 years. It's going to take 2 years to double, right? So it's accelerating. I also thought I'd share with you some data around contact center, right? To show how customers are deploying and managing their contact center technologies today and in their next provision cycle. So the way we asked, that's exactly the way we asked in the survey. We didn't say within the next 2 years. We said at the next provision cycle. Their next provision cycle may be 3 months from now, right? Their next provision cycle may be a year or 2 years from now. But anyway, you look at it, and there's still an awful lot today, over 40%, that's on-premise equipment, right? On-premise equipment technology. Managed services, so it's managed off-site by a third-party managed service provider. Perhaps folks like you who have managed services businesses, right? And then the other category, hosted entirely in the cloud. And when I shared this with the Avaya folks a couple of days ago, they were surprised. They thought, Tim, we thought we would have seen the cloud numbers jump a lot more, because you can see it goes up to about 27% to 30% of the next provisioning cycle. Not a huge jump. But you have to understand there's a lot of sunk cost, right? There's a lot of amortization benefits they get out of having have made that capital expense. And so, whenever there's hardware infrastructure involved in any technology solution, the adoption cycle or the migration cycle from on-premise to cloud is a bit slower. But still, it is happening. I mentioned at the top that I have lots of opportunities to talk with your peers and channel partner companies, and perhaps with some of you as well. And I've seen, in general, two approaches to this whole cloud mobile thing, right? One is remember, Mad Magazine, it was, hey, what, be worried, I'm not really worried about that. And they tend to ignore it. And the other was, panic, kind of the two extremes. Now, kind of the result of those two, and the Avaya said, my God, you can't put up an RIP gravestone. You're going to scare our eyes. But, I've always been one for a little bit for the dramatic. But, there are, I don't know if you know this, there are fewer channel partner companies in the world today than there were 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, there were about between 1.2 and 1.3 million channel partner companies. You say, man, that sounds like a lot. But, we count the accountants, the CPAs that are actually doing reference selling for Intuit QuickBooks as a channel partner company, right? The guys that are selling the mobile phones on a tabletop in a Kenyan marketplace, they're a channel partner company. So that's why they're selling. But there were between 1.2 and 1.3 million 4 years ago. There's less than 1 million today. Less than 1 million. Now, yes, a lot of that happens as a result of merger and acquisition consolidation, but you know what? Some of those are resellers, and when I talk to the pure infrastructure partners, the HP resellers, the IBM resellers, the Dell resellers, a lot of them have just got stuck on selling servers and laptops, and that became their business. And there's a tremendous amount of them that actually have had to shutter their doors because they didn't broaden their solutions portfolio. So, with these two extremes, right, not worried about it, too panicked, I'm actually going to give you some ideas that you can take away of what you can do to take advantage of the changes going on in the market. Let's talk about some of those business opportunities. So I mentioned that the days of resale only are numbered. So if your margins are based on the discount margins that you're getting from your tech vendors, those days are numbered. And most tech vendors that I talk to are working really hard to support and enable their channel partners to broaden their solutions portfolio to include professional services, managed services, sysadmin, configuration, etc., other types of things. The reason it's so important to get broader is because customers are intending to scrap point solution providers. So if all you offer is a single thing, you can see what customers are saying. Again, 35,000 customers, right? They have a very high or even a critical priority at consolidating their network and telecom solution providers as a strategic initiative. By the way, this is one of their most important strategic initiatives there is. And it's 43% is the number that are giving that a priority. So almost half. That's a pretty big number of customers that are looking to consolidate their solution providers. You need to get broader, right, in terms of your solution portfolio, and you need to get more valuable and more relevant. I'm going to give you some ideas for how to do that. I also wanted to share with you some channel partner data. So we not only survey customers of technology, we survey channel partners like yourselves as well. And I asked them in the last survey that we did, how do you make your money, right? And how are you planning to make your money in the future, 2 years from now? And so you could see, first category, what we make in terms of selling product, we actually in 2 years expect that to go down. That's going to go down. What's going to go up? Well, the reselling of cloud infrastructure services, so up by a big margin. Up by even a bigger margin, reselling of cloud software. So pretty big. So that's pretty indicative. Now, there's another part of many channel partners' business where they just are not reselling. They're actually providing, right? And so I wanted to include a couple of those areas as well. So managed services. So a channel partner provides managed services directly to customers, growing at more than 11%, anticipated growth in terms of revenue more than 11%. And cloud software, hosting, growing at almost 25%. So those are some pretty significant numbers. I mean, even if you discount the customer data, you need to take into account what your peers are doing, what your peers are actually planning to do. And it's funny. I was a kind of a naysayer around channel partners getting into the cloud software or hosting business. I had the opportunity to listen to a panel of 10 of you yesterday. By the way, the 10 channel partners that were on the panel yesterday, we had the opportunity to buzz with our questions. We're really, really smart. I mean, if they're indicative of you all, you guys are really, really smart, and I'm really, really intimidated. But one of the things I learned is that some are actually considering or have gotten into the cloud software business themselves in terms of hosting. And I'll talk about more of that in a second too, because I think there's great opportunity in an extension of that. Okay. So here's 5 cloud business opportunities that when I work with channel partners, this is what I counsel them on. One is about configuration integration. It's a big business. Let me give you an example. I actually have a friend who has his own channel partner company, about 12 employees now, so relatively small. But all they do is Salesforce implementation. And they have their current backlog. Their current backlog is 17 months. So if you're a customer of Salesforce or a new customer of Salesforce and you call them up and say, we need some configuration and integration done with our new Salesforce implementation that we're planning, okay, I'll get you in 17 months. That's a pretty nice backlog. So that's obviously a big business. Managed services. One of the things that I was pleasantly surprised about yesterday in talking to the panel was how many of the panel actually had a managed services business. So this is another boom, right? Been growing significantly, continues to grow significantly. And I just don't, everyone talks about, the cloud market growing very fast. The managed services market is actually growing even faster than the cloud market, right? So a couple reasons for that. Number one, it's kind of tied to the cloud market because in terms of the managed service, what can you manage? Well, you can remotely manage on-premise equipment, right? But you can also manage customers' cloud environments as well. That's one big opportunity. Cloud brokerage, I'll talk about that a little bit in a second. Cloud economics. The number one inquiry that I get from customers about cloud is economics. What should I do based on cost? And you know what? Besides the analysts that are addressing these questions for customers, and that's not enough. We need a bigger part of the world to step up and be those cloud economists. I mean, that's the most vexing question for customers in terms of making a decision. What's the economics behind private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud? What should I do? Which workload should I put in the cloud? Which one should I not? When should I put them in the cloud? When should I bring them back private? And you have to make yourself a cloud economist if you're going to represent cloud solutions. And then VMO services, vendor management office services. I'll talk about those as well. So I mentioned managed services and cloud hosting services. I wanted to give you some numbers. Again, this is from our survey of channel partners. And my RA, my research associate, came up with this graphic of the Hydra beast. I'm not sure. I said, I'm not sure they'll like that. He goes, they'll love it, Tim. It's the multi-headed thing. It's no longer are they just resellers. They actually wear multiple hats or have multiple heads in terms of their revenue streams and their businesses. And so I wanted to share some data with you on this. When we ask channel partners to self-identify, 15% say they are first and foremost a managed service provider. But when we ask those who self-identify as a value-added reseller, if they have a managed services business, 42%. So the bulk of the managed services business is not by a pure managed service provider. It's by VARs who have developed